Hello everyone, Oshino here and welcome back into this Let's Build Planet Coaster video series, which we will simply name Wild County for the time being. That said, we are now back at the final point of our last video. As you saw if you watched the first episode, which I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed making it. And today we are gonna start building the main street, and as it is a much bigger element than what we did on the first episode, it won't fit in a single episode. So I hope you will still enjoy what we're gonna do today, and let's get going by putting back into day mode. And let's get right to it. So we are starting today with the creation of the path for the main street. As most theme parks have a straight and wide main street, I wanted to do something different than those parks by doing a circular main street. So it's going to be half a circle, as you can see it shaping right now, and it's going to be 3 roads like parallel to each other, interconnected in multiple points, and I think it can look quite interesting with being different at the same time. Also, this episode is a bit different than the first one because I will be doing a lot of repetitive work in it in order to shape the beginning of this main street. So what I decided is, of course, editing some footage in order not to be too boring, but also instead of just cutting and having it done like this, just like magic, I decided also to accelerate the footage drastically in some select parts in order for you to see the whole process but not being bored by the length of it. You have to know that those roads, for example, took in real time an hour to be done, and lots of trials and errors, but in the final footage right now it is like less than a minute long in the end. So yeah, there's been a lot of modifications done, but I think it's pretty good to see the whole thing happening live. So with the path done, we are now starting to make things a little bit nicer and start to put elements around those paths. So first comes the creation of custom planters. I wanted to have some planters, and as I will be trying to make some alpine inspired theme, I think that wood was the way to go to create those planters, so rough wood basically. So yes, it starts by the design of this. So you will see in this episode there is a lot of those help screen popping up on the left, because we are now in the final release version of Planet Coaster. So they have those help panels popping up every time you start a new panel or a new selection in order to remind you of the controls. And sometimes I forget completely to turn them off. So they will be annoying in parts of this episode. And to finish the creation of these planters, I wanted to have some lights in it in order for the night time to lead them properly and have some nice effects on the foliage that will be in them. So I just did some tests right here to see how it was.
We wanted to run, we wanted to fall together.
And I created a blueprint of the final planter in order to be able to repeat them by a single click and just like place them everywhere as I want. So we are now starting the multiplication and the placing of all of them. And I also several times created blueprints with several of them, to even speed up the process even further. And yes, so once again, this is like very accelerated, even more than usual accelerated footage in order to make things easier to watch and much quicker.
You will see. You will see.
On that second rank of planters, I wanted them a bit higher, just to make a small difference in height. I guess for the effect, I suppose. We'll see if it gives a good effect, but right now I'm pretty happy with what it gives as a result. and we are done with the multiplication of the planters. So right now we're starting putting the foliage into it. I try to put as much diversity in it, as we don't have that many small bushes. We have maybe like 6 or 7 that are small enough to be used in those planters. So I try to mix them and do something nice and symmetrical as much as possible. And the logic is to start with all those low foliage in the planters, and then on top of it we can add bigger trees. But we need to do the small and fine work first before adding the final big trees.
Disappear again. And I don't know how many times I've said that this is not the end, and we will make.
Yeah, this is something I am quite obsessed in real life, is that effect that light has on foliage at night. When you have lush greenery and lit by yellow lights, it has that effect at night where the green stand out and it gives a very nice result. I was inspired by that to reproduce it with those planters. Hopefully, well, the light will be white, which is not as good as yellow, but for this I think it's good enough.
How many worlds would you cross to use the light that's right in front of you? There is no light on the other side. I say, look straight ahead and you will see. You will see. You will see. How many worlds would you cross?
This red tree was quite a surprise to find. It is exactly the same type of maple tree we find very common in Japan. So that was pretty fun to find something that I did not expect in the game. I think it's going to be quite useful for the next videos, I think. And the final pine trees in order to finish off a bit. Small details. It is a bit annoying because when you just do with the camera some angles, you think you place the bush perfectly fine, but actually it's floating into mid-air, so there's been some rectifications that had to be done. Also, I placed those large pine trees, the highest, only at the back in order not to cover any potential buildings we might build. So I just put the highest trees only at the back, and we'll keep some low rising trees at the front. So now adding just a small path details like lighting on the main roads. Now that this is done, I am looking for some pieces that could be useful to elaborate some alpine theme for the main street. So from here I will be starting creating some custom path elements in order to decorate the main street in the future. So we won't be using the final things in this episode, but will be added at the end, to give some added details when we'll be in the finishing touches of that main street. So as you can see, obviously this is a lamp post which I'm creating, also entirely almost made of wood in order to keep that rough feeling and be faithful to the theme. And creating a blueprint of it in order to be able to find it back again and use it as much as I want in just one click. And trying the light at night. Next element we are creating will be a fence for the path. quick and easy, and added as a blueprint as well, to find it back. And finally, the last element I will be creating for the final main street is gonna be a bench, a custom bench. So as this is a bench only made of scenery, obviously the visitors cannot use them, but as a visual element it's pretty nice. So I think we'll put them at some chosen places, and as you could see, it's just a small modification of the fence. And now we are gonna go to the next step, is gonna be the creation of some kind of pedestrian area. Well, obviously it's a theme park, so the whole park is a pedestrian area, but I am simulating a typical added path walk on the side of the street, just to be nice for the building that are going to be built here. So once again, a very repetitive thing that has been very sped up. Using those square pieces on those rounded path was not very easy, and you cannot be as precise as you want to be, but we try to put it as best as possible. I think we'll use some small pieces of foliage to cover the irregularities in the end. But yeah, for now I think it's good enough for what we need to do. And the next plan is going to be to build a kind of a main building all on the back of that path walk. Some kind of main building with probably information booth inside. And today we are starting that main building with a kind of a tower. So once again, in order to obtain the exact same feel I wanna get, I'm using mostly wood pieces and some walls that are gonna look nice enough. So this is how the tower is starting. I want it to be higher than the ticket booth building we built in episode 1. So as it's gonna be one of the highest point of that big building, I wanted it to be high enough. And on top of it, I wanted to create some kind of a belfry to give a nice touch to it. That roof is fairly simple, but it was fitting perfectly what I wanted for this tower, so I just used it as is, and adding some small wooden detail under it for good measure. from now on I am starting to shape the decoration of the walls for this tower. And changing the color of the walls as white in order to imitate that alpine feeling we get in the mountains, especially in the east of France or in Germany also. The funny thing is that when I changed the colors of the walls in white, I discovered that actually the 2 meters wall had some kind of pattern in it, which I discovered completely out of luck. And that pattern is very nice. You'll see it very soon. It's like under the roof, just under the roof, and you see those kind of a triangle shaped, which I enjoyed, so I kept it that way. And as for the wood pieces to decorate the wall, I wanted to imitate also that architecture design we find in the east of France, in Alsace specifically, and in Germany also in some cities, and more generally in the Alps. I like very much this kind of small old houses that has all those wooden pieces on the walls. Finding the perfect window to fit, and some red to once again remind of the rest of the buildings around it. It's always a bit difficult to find small pieces that are small enough to decorate efficiently what you want, because Planet Coaster has a lot of pieces already, but most of them are pretty big. So like small things or small details, you're a bit limited at the moment. And I wanted to change the color of the wood because it was too pale and it didn't give the right feeling, so I had to try different colors, and I had to set with that kind of orange reddish also that is going very well with the rest of the buildings. Initially I wanted some kind of natural dark colored wood, but the wood would not be colored as I wanted, so yeah, I had to settle with that color. And once again duplicating 4 times in order to get the exact same thing on all sides. Here you have it, the first tower of the main building, which is, as we speak, duplicated in order to fit both sides of the main street. Then the main building is going to be built around and behind those 2 towers. Now that the towers are finished, this is the end of this episode. There won't be any cinematics at the end because we have nothing finished just yet. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you next time. Hey, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as the last one. If that's the case, don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel by clicking on the button just in front of you or below the video. Also, it is always greatly appreciated if you leave likes and comments, it keeps me going. Also, if you want to join the community, you can click on the Facebook or Twitter button. If you haven't seen the last episode, don't hesitate to click on the button on the left. Thank you very much again, and let's see you in the next one.